After Ferrari debuted their huge upgrade package last week at their private racetrack in Fiorano, they have one goal in mind as we head towards Imola for this weekend's race. And that is, of course, to overturn the 0.4 of a second on average deficit that they have to Red Bull. And this upgrade package aims to achieve that in two particular ways. One is to decrease the overall drag that the car produces, and then secondly, to increase the overall downforce of the car as well as the load points. And they've gone about a considerable overhaul of the SF-24, trying to achieve this. But without further ado, let's jump in and go over all of these substantial changes on the SF-24 EVO that they have made in order to achieve this target of theirs for this weekend. And let's start off with the Ferrari SF-24's now Red Bull style sidepods with a complete overhaul of its design. The team have moved away from a underbite and moved to the Red Bull style extreme overbite, as you can see from the two comparisons before and after the Imola upgrade. The solution has been in the wind tunnel for quite a while at Ferrari in Maranello, with them only finding huge gains after their first couple of initial tests yielded none. Initially, the team wanted to go more with an Aston Martin style extreme undercut, much more in the vein of what you've seen on this year's AMR 24 or late in the season with the RB19 from last year. But as I just said, after extensive testing of the Red Bull style sidepods and in particular its overbite inlets, they actually managed to find huge gains from it and thus decided to do a 360 and completely change their direction with their upgrade package. There also appears to be quite a bit of a difference when it comes to the engine cover or the openings on them, as you can see from the pictures on screen with the old and new updates around there. The opening looks substantially larger than at first thought. There's also a greater sculpting of the side pod undercut, as you can see where the Ray-Ban design logos have been situated on the side pod. Moving away from the SF-24's overbite on their side pods, there is of course a brand new floor with this upgrade. And as can be seen from the pictures, it's very difficult to see the changes that have been made on the floor. But this image illustrates that quite well. Whereas the launch spec floor had pretty much a flat surface with the pictures we're showing here, the new upgraded floor has what I like to call kind of like a miniature tunnel, although it's not the right way to describe it, but it has a lot more of a curve on it, and then of course this is going to allow for the air to travel through that and around the tires. But of course a lot of the work on this upgraded floor will be on the Venturi tunnel and all the other intricate details underneath, which we won't necessarily get any pictures of at all. But what I can do is show you one particular picture of the launch spec floor, which we can see a lot of what the Ferrari team had done and were trying to achieve with it. And you can see potentially the type of changes that the team would have made with this new floor because of the overbite. One really interesting thing to note is across the three big teams for this current generation of F1 cars, there has been a somewhat of a convergence on the Venturi tunnel openings. And that is their inner fence has been cut out, and this is highlighted in yellow. And for this season, Red Bull have also adopted this shape. And it seems with this brand new update, there should be changes to this area of the SF-24 as well. The rear wing, which debuted today, has seen modifications to the end plates on the SF-24, and this has been done to reduce the amount of drag that it's producing. But Ferrari will have to be very careful because when it introduces it into the race situation, they have to make sure they don't run into the same issues that Aston Martin did out in Miami with their own iteration of this. Essentially, for Aston Martin, they ran into an issue of, with this lower drag configuration of rear wing that they ran with their car, Their car was sliding around all over the place, which both drivers encountered and reported to the team. And as such, they had to stick with their more higher and draggy rear wing, able to achieve the most optimum lap time that they could. But of course, that meant they had a lack of straight line speed and their ability to overtake cars during the race. This is something Ferrari will not run into, particularly at a home race such as Imola, where the magnitude and the multitude of different corner speeds that are on that track are quite vast. We have high speed corners, we have slow speed corners, we have medium speed corners, and of course there is one huge long DRS for the pit straight, which will be key to making overtakes in the race. So Ferrari are no doubt targeting that particular aspect with this new rear wing. And for that, Ferrari have to make sure they have the right downforce levels throughout the weekend, and particularly in the race, as that's when all the points are run, and they need to make sure that they have a car that is capable of overtaking all of their competitors. So that of course would include Red Bull and McLaren. And for that, they're going to need superior straight line speed over their opponents in the race. And they have to make sure, if this rear wing is used, it doesn't bring any adverse effects to like tire wear and the race pace through each of the stints when they're running all the different compounds of tires that are available throughout that race weekend. So it's going to be key about optimizing the package that they bring in order to make sure they have an aggressive straight line speed, but one that does not hinder them with their overall lap time with race pace. But of course, Red Bull aren't standing still. They too are bringing their own upgrade package to the Imola racetrack. Now, we don't know exactly how big of a package it is, but knowing Red Bull and what they've brought to the track so far, we could expect to see something very similar to what Ferrari have unveiled and McLaren did in Miami. So of course, it's all relative to what the competition bring. If Red Bull don't bring a sizable upgrade that gives them a couple of tenths advantage over what Ferrari's upgrade brings to them, they will fall behind Ferrari. But it's also the same if you were to look at it from the other way. If Ferrari doesn't bring this package and it yields the amount of lap time gain that they want and need over Red Bull's upgrade, they would have not made the progress they were hoping for. And so it's a matter of waiting for qualifying to come first of all, and more importantly the race, to see what happens and unfolds within it and all the variables that come with that. Right guys, thank you all for watching the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like down below, and I'll catch you all in another Formula 1 video shortly.